Hello, everyone. This is Joe Pantozzi with Alpha Omega Wealth, and I am here with my good friend of a long, long time, Barry Dyke. And Barry has been, I'll just come out and say it, Barry's been a blessing to me and to the rest of the financial industry for a long, long time. I met him probably about the same time I met Nelson Nash in 2001. And we're going to just visit for a short while and talk about the industry and hopefully talk about the seen and the unseen. But first of all, good morning, Barry. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Joe. Always good to see my old friend Joe Pantozzi. Yeah, it's always good to see you. You're
Thank
looking
you, brother.
as ever, you know.
Yeah, well, it's old age and treachery is gonna be outstanding. Let him tell me I'm getting old, but you got to think like an 18-year-old.
I feel like an 18-year-old. Don't look like one, but I feel like one.
Yeah, well, your mind's as sharp as ever, and I want to endorse Barry's books and his diligence in serving this entire industry. Barry's firm is Castle Asset Management. He's in New Hampshire, and of course, obviously, working with clients all over the country. And when I first met Barry, he had come out with his book, The Pirates of Manhattan, which is a very intense, profound, scholarly piece on laying out the relationships between government, banks, insurance company, Wall Street. It's a must read, I would say, for every client, everybody who's interested in financial literacy, and every financial advisor. Then he came out with Pirates 2. And the reason that this is important is that education in finance is a never-ending process, and it should be a lifelong process. If you're going to be serious about your finances, you're going to be engaged in, as Nelson Nash would call it, an advanced course on money. And that's what Barry continues to promulgate for us and continue to create resources for us. He also wrote a book called Guaranteed Income. And now he is at the tail end of completing a 2-book set called Pirates of Manhattan 3, which we hope, we're keeping our fingers crossed, will be out in the first quarter of 2024. And if there's anybody who's helped me to remain established in the business, keep my foundation solid, and add to my client's foundation, that's been Barry Dyke. So there you go. So I want to say thank you.
You're much too kind, Joe. I'm just a white-haired guy from New Hampshire with a computer. That's all I am,
Yeah.
I'm just too dumb to quit,
There you go. There you go.
And I don't like bullies, so so that's and I do it obviously for myself, but really it's more important, really, I do it for myself, for my family, for people like you, for savers out there, and really for retirement savers everywhere, because the same shenanigans and crap which is going on since 2008 or 2007 it's worse now than it ever was, and it continues. And so what kind of sparked me to do this book was that I was in that movie, the documentary movie, The Baby Boom Dilemma. Yep. If people want to go to boomermovie.com, so you can see a clip on there. But I got a lot of the people into the movie, and I was kind of edited out of it for reasons which we won't get into right now. But also I got to meet that guy Tom Gober, who's in the forensic accountant, and how he studied insurance companies and obviously the balance sheets and so forth. And so that said is that and then when his research revolved, showed how unstable a lot of these companies are, and then also the hypocrisy, which what financial institutions recommend for the public and what they do for themselves. There's total hypocrisy. So anyway, so that said, and then we've had since really Joe, since 2007. We've had a financial orgy, if you will, with low interest, 0% interest rates, which are the lowest for 40 years, which has been just an explosion of the private equity industry throughout America, and through, primarily through public pension plans. Now they're going after retail savers. So this is one of the reasons why I thought really people need to know about this stuff more than ever.
Yeah, we talk about the seen and the unseen all the time, and probably Nelson Nash, who wrote the book, Becoming Your Own Banker, the Infinite Banking Concept. If anybody has not read this book, of course, when you buy the book, it's going to look clean and neat. It's not going to have the indexes.
Well used, Joe.
But it's well used. But Nelson talked about the idea of an iceberg, right? 10% of the iceberg is above the water, 90% is below the water. And it's the 90% that you need to be concerned about, because you don't know if your ship is going to run into that iceberg. And that could happen in a financial sense. So I come across people all the time, thank God there are people out there who want to take a deeper look into their finances. They want to make decisions based on fact, and solid research, and solid financial history, and good reserves, historical performance, and ethical excellence. They want to make decisions based on all those things, as opposed to what some agents, some advisors, some salesmen are showing them as, hey, this is the best thing since sliced bread. There goes my focus on my camera.
Yeah, the focus of the camera's gone off a little bit. I don't know.
It's gone off completely. Anyway, hopefully the words will be more important. Some salesmen are out there selling an interest rate. This policy is going to give you the best performance that you'll ever see, and therefore this is the best policy for you. Well, they may be based on some kind of a projection. They may be based on a short-term scenario. They may not involve guarantees. And as most of our clients already know, we endorse whole life policies, dividend paying whole life policies issued by mutual companies that have a track record of 100 years, 120 years, 140 years. So we're interested in the long term. As Nelson would say, it's important how the policy performs. It's important how the insurance company performs, but it's really, really important how the client performs, how the client behaves, right? And there are all kinds of analogies that we could use. Would you rather have Tiger Woods' clubs? Do you think you'll break par with his clubs, or would you rather have his swing? So one of the things that Barry and I, hopefully many things that we have in common, is that we're here to teach our clients the swing. Right? We're here to coach you and to help you understand finances from a deeper perspective. I mean, finance is going to affect every aspect of your life. It's surviving, it's raising your household, it's building net worth, it's putting money away for retirement, it's building your business, it's taking care of your employees, it's sending your kids to college, it's creating a legacy and an inheritance. And you need to have more than a cursory understanding of finance. And so not every single advisor out there is going to be the best advisor just because they have white hair. Absolutely not. There are probably people out there who are in the business 50 years and they could be crooked too. Just as crooked as somebody who doesn't care. But you want someone who's been around the block. You want someone who eats their own cooking, as I say, who only sells what they own. And I think one of the things that I was taught a long time ago was you want to show your clients your own portfolio. I mean, I may not show policy numbers, but I show it in a specific sense as I can. The fact that I have a portfolio of policies, I believe in this stuff. This is where I base my wealth, and this has been the foundation from which I've built other wealth in other areas. So, seen and unseen. I get off on a tangent and then I forget that Barry Dyke's in the room. I'm sorry. So
No worries, no worries, Joe. It's just, yeah. Well, the the thing I think, which we intuitively understand, and this is really for if people in any pursuit what they do, whether it be a teacher or a carpenter or a business owner or financial advisor or an architect or what have you. Anyone intuitively knows that it takes a long time to build up a business or anything of value. We know that, Joe. You talk to any athlete or whatever, and or someone like some of these greats like Jabbar or Michael Jordan or Kobe or any of these guys. These guys, I mean, it took them years and years and years to get really good at what they did. And we know that intuitively. We know that. And I would, if you interviewed anyone in the street, we know that it takes a long period of time to get good in sports or any activity. But when it comes to savings, oh no, we're going to gamble away all our money. We're going to throw into mutual funds. We're going to throw into stocks. We're going to give it to Robinhood or to we're going to put it in some SPAC, okay? And all these things are starting to blow up all around the country, all around the world, and it's happening again, and it's worse than 2008. So the thing is that so I think what you're doing, Joe, and I commend you for doing this, is really we're showing how to insulate people from this crap from Wall Street and the banks. So because if you look at the banks, like during the financial crisis, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, and GMAC, which is now known as Allied Financial, they were all allowed to become bank holding companies, and they lost after losing billions. They were allowed to become bank holding companies and get access to the billions of free dollars from the Federal Reserve, essentially no cost money. So Wall Street and the banks will protect themselves. We know that the asset managers will protect themselves. But the thing is, for people, you really have to be more prudent in protecting what you have. And so this is now important more than ever. I mean, with the market loss with 22% last year in 2002, the market has been up this year, but it's only been like a 7 or 8 stocks, something like that. If you look at a lot of these stocks, they're horrible. Okay, but if you turn on CNBC or Bloomberg or Fox Business News, everyone get in the market because their major clients are the advertisers. So the whole thing is people now more than ever have to do research and become more informed. And I commend you for trying to help get out the education out. But I was also blessed to get to know Nelson Nash, and he was really a great mentor. And actually, it was Nelson actually financed the second book. I don't know if I ever told you that, because I was recovering and whatever, and I had nothing, and he was actually financed the second book, Pirates 2. And then,
wow.
yeah, actually, and I actually have a copy of the check on the whole thing. I actually have to get it framed and put it in my office. But yeah, Nelson actually financed Pirates 2. Because I went through a very difficult time, and so this is kind of a spiritual journey too. So, but so now it's really more important than ever for people to have good, solid advice. We're in crazy times, so we don't know what's going to happen. But if you understand the financial system, if you put a good chunk of your money with on deposit with a good mutual company, you're gonna be the safest place there is. Now, the irony of the whole thing, Joe, and this will be your listeners and everyone's going to show, and I have to kind of be like Steve Jobs. I can't disclose everything which is in the book, but in the book, I will document how giant companies like General Motors and IBM and Bristol Myers Squibb and Hewlett Packard and Bear AG and all these giant companies are all using life insurance companies to fund their retirement plans. Sure. Now, will you hear this in the mainstream media? Au contraire, mon ami. But I have all the documents, and the blessing is that now with the internet, I was able to research it and verify that it was not just big in the U.S. but also big in Canada and in the U.K. Actually, the U.K. is probably so. I have all this irrefutable research. So, by the way, this is where Rolls-Royce put their money. This is where BMW put their money, and Heineken and everyone else. But So, and they're not gambling with the money, but when it comes to retail savers, they want to gamble, and that's really kind of the last hurrah. So Wall Street is going after, they want you to gamble even more with their savings.
You know, Kiyosaki in his book Second Chance makes a big issue out of talking about the distinction between, and he calls savers losers, okay, between rich people and losers, and let's just call them between rich people and savers. And he says that rich people put their money into capital assets that create cash flow, and they have cash flow by their luxuries, by their liabilities, right? A boat is a liability. A car is a liability. They have their cash flow by the liabilities. Where poor people or savers or losers, God bless them, it's an unfortunate description that he used. But what savers do is they use their capital to buy liabilities, and there's no buffer. They're giving up their capital. They're giving up their seed corn, right? And he makes a huge distinction between what rich people do and what poor people do. And the only distinction is not the products that they buy, it's how they think, right?
Yeah.
And when I was first in the business, and I met Nelson when I was 25 years in the business. So in 2001, I was 25 years in the business. And shortly thereafter, Barry came out with his book. And here Nelson is teaching me, Joe, did you know, just like Barry said, did you know that banks put huge amounts of money into bank-owned life insurance? And if I'm not wrong, a gentleman named John Todd introduced the idea of bank-owned life insurance to the banks in the late 60s. And
it was actually GE was the first ones. It was General Electric. It was General Electric actually started doing this in the 1950s in a big way.
The 50s. So why wouldn't big financial institutions tell us, hey, you should feel more secure because we have a ton of reserves inside insured contracts where we have $1 of asset backing up $1 of liability. I didn't know any of this until I was 25 years in the business. And one of the first books I read was Pirates of Manhattan. And I started to see chapter and verse on the list of banks, and there are thousands of them that own bank-owned life insurance. Well, if you want to follow after the habits of rich people or rich institutions, wouldn't you do what they do? You don't want to do the opposite of what they do. So if banks own huge amounts of life insurance, high equity, investment grade life insurance, we might say, using your life insurance as a bond component. If banks own huge amounts of life insurance, if all the Fortune 500 companies use life insurance, and the vast majority of wealthy people use life insurance, what's wrong with this picture when the financial entertainers out there are saying, whole life, if you buy it, you're stupid, and if you sell it, you're stupid. But where the vast majority of wealth is residing is with the insurance companies.
Yeah, you get guys like Dave Ramsey who says it's horrible, and the whole thing, he's never done the research, and so it's a but that's we don't the problem is, Joe, which I'll get to the statistics, is that and I didn't think it would go in there, but I did. Where America stands in terms of retirement preparedness in the top 20. Just take a guess. Out of the top 20 industrialized countries in the world, I'm talking about all the Nordic countries and countries in the East, and where do you think we are in the top 20? America, in terms of
not in the top 10 for sure.
All right, yeah, we're 19.
Yeah, there you go.
So the whole thing, and this is each year Mercer Analytics out of Australia does a independent study on who has the best retirement systems, and we're one of the worst. Now the thing is, if you're very wealthy in this country, this is a great place, because you can have, if you have millions and millions of dollars, you can have dividend paying stocks and all this stuff. But I'm talking really for the 85-90% of the population who are not in that position. So, which I think you both and I serve. So, the really, really wealthy people, are going to be fine. But But in terms of retirement preparedness, America just some of the worst. But what the research will reveal is actually how these actually, you know, like in Holland, you actually you're required to use an annuity for your retirement. Okay, and but I think the penetration of use of annuities, or maybe about maybe less than 10%. Okay, that's pretty accurate. And Kraft recently did some numbers. So the whole thing is they want you to gamble with your money. And I'm not, you know, I'm a capitalist, Joe. I love my iPhone. I have a lot of money invested in technology, you know, and websites and all that stuff. And I'm a big I spend a lot of money on that stuff. So I'm a capitalist, but the thing is that but you know, a lot of it you really have to have save, and when you have savings, and then you can take advantage of opportunities. And by the way, Kiyosaki, he wrote a book with a friend of mine, Ted Siddell, who's actually in the movie with me. But anyway, so he's going to love the next book when it comes out too. So because Kiyosaki, he knows that a lot of the stuff is just a scam.
Yeah, I mean the need for capital, I think, is something that we could talk about all day, because most people don't understand it's more important to have access to capital at a reasonable cost than it is to have access to some highly volatile investment that might pay a high return and might cause you to lose money. So if in this, especially in this environment we're in, if a business owner needs capital, where do they go? Well, they have to go to SBA. They go to the bank. They go to a line of credit. They max out their credit cards. I mean, they're going to all forms of debt, and that's what they consider their source of capital, and they think that's natural, right? But if every time you had to make a loan payment of any kind, you're making a bank or a lender add to their net worth, why wouldn't you think about controlling that banking function, as Nelson would say? And every time you make a payment, you're making it to the failure in your name family bank. And so now,
No, it makes all the sense in the world, Joe. And look at, particularly in this interest rate environment. I mean, I don't know what are commercial loans now are. I was talking to one client, I think client that 9 or 8%, 10%, whatever right now.
SBA is above 9.
Yeah, 9. Okay, so the whole thing is that so I don't know about you, but I have a lot of cash value and things like that. So I can do things. Okay, I can finance things. I can do it short money. Okay,
yeah.
And the thing is that I'm in control. Okay, so the more people can be self-reliant, the better off they're going to be. And I think really the most important thing I call in life, I call my 5 F's. My faith, my family, my friends, my physical fitness, and then my finances. That's the way I kind of look at it. So those are God's number one thing in my life. But my point is that when you have capital, you can take advantages of things. Okay, they want you to be beholden to them.
Yes.
And you know what the average credit card rate is now, Joe?
Above 20, I think.
Yes, like around 28% bank rate. Just get off this call. You Google bank rate. They just I think the average credit card is like around 20, and this in the 28%. And which is actually even worse, Joe, is that these bank retail credit cards for people like Academy Sports and Burlington stores and Michaels and these department stores, the average interest rate, Joe, is 32%. I mean, in the Middle Ages, they would burn people at the stake for those things. Okay,
I've suggested to some clients, hey, you've got this balance. We're just looking at a balance sheet for the client, and the client's got a balance that they're carrying on their revolving credit card. I'm saying, okay, you've got $20,000 here that you owe, and rates 18%, 25%, 28%, and you've got cash values in your life insurance policies. They may be policies I sold the client. They may be policies they've had for a long time. People don't understand the way life insurance works. And I say, listen, you're locked into an amortization schedule, even as reasonable as it might appear, as attractive as it might appear, because the credit card companies don't want you to pay it down because they want to continue to receive the interest forever. So you're locked into a certain amortization. But here, if you move that balance over and take a life insurance loan, your policy is not going to diminish in its performance. You're borrowing money from the insurance company using your policy cash value as collateral, and you're going to pay them whatever the loan rate is in your policy, 5% ish, right? The policies that are being issued in 2023 are 4% on the fixed side, 4%. Who wouldn't want to trade in their high cost credit card balance for a life insurance loan that's interest only, where you have the absolute discretion to pay off the balance at your discretion when you want to, if you want to, and have the flexibility so that you can get a hold of your finances and make yourself financially healthy. Some people, even today, don't understand the way a life insurance loan works. And I'll just kind of blurt it out there and say, why wouldn't you take a life insurance loan? Now, some people would say, I didn't know it works that way. That's fantastic. And some people would say, well, I don't really have any cash value life insurance. I have some term insurance through work, and that's pretty much what I have. Okay, well, then we should probably work on a plan to make you whole and start redirecting some of your finances, so you're building up equity for yourself instead of the bank.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. Again, it's and this is the problem. In terms of the world savings, again, if you study society, society is always vibrant when you have a strong middle class, Joe, and we know that, and we with a strong middle class, we generally have a very high savings rates. But America is one of the worst in the world, and this will be coming out in the book. And I got these statistics from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development out of France, but essentially it's a nonpartisan research outfit. And again, once again, I love America. I'm so grateful I live here. I live in a beautiful area. But if you look at our standards of living in comparison to other countries now, for the average person, it's lousy. And one of the things is that there is this economic wealth gap, and one of the reasons why we have this is because there is no savings, and they don't want to have people with savings, because if they had savings, then they wouldn't have a need for all these credit card debts and so forth. So that's what I'm kind of so all this is statistics, and this is going to be improved eventually. Hopefully, it will improve in my lifetime. I don't know. The more I know, the more I'm kind of a disbeliever that it will be cured. But I think if people take back control of their life, they can be more self-reliant. But this is something that they have to hear from people like you, because they're not going
to. Good words. Appreciate you. I'm gonna wrap it up. I know you have a time schedule, and I think one of the most important things that we can do concerning finances as a general statement is continue to talk about it, because when you deal with your finances in secret, you're probably hiding something, not from the outside world, but from yourself. But when we find out that everybody else in the room is in the same boat, we can talk about it a little bit more openly. We can say, I had that issue. I'm 20 years older than you are today, and this is how I addressed it. And these are the things that I made sure I took care of. We talk about life insurance as an asset class, life insurance as a bond component, life insurance as a banking component, an important element of your family banking system. But also, by the way, one day, hopefully it's a long day, a long way from now, we're all going to graduate, right? And my friend Len Rainier says the strongest financial tool on the planet is a strong, loving family. And he says, the one thing that's absolutely going to happen to every single person on the planet is we're going to die, we're going to graduate. Why not create a windfall or at least a safety net for the family that you leave behind, for the heirs, the people you love, that you care about, that you leave behind? It's a side issue. We talk about it kind of sparingly because we don't want to talk about that part of it. But and life insurance has so many wonderful qualities and benefits that help us living. By the way, why wouldn't you want to at least learn about the backstory, the part that people are not talking about? So we're here to continue to talk about the issue, and I appreciate Barry so much. I hope we continue to have these conversations.
Visit the site, barrymajamesdyke.com, if to sign up for so people want to know about when the next book comes out. When it comes out, I'm sure we'll be doing an interview because it just needs to be out there. But it's been a long slog, Joe. I get thousands of hours into this thing.
Yeah.
So,
I know this will be a great book and a great resource for people. Let me repeat that.
Yes.
It's barrymajamesdyke.com. So you should go there and get yourself on that list. So appreciate you, and we'll continue to talk. And